FBA on the Water, where two e-com business owners come to chat with everyone about Amazon FBA and other online businesses, turning everyday people into million-dollar business owners. Now, your hosts, Nate Flips FBA and Lucky Flips.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 13 of FBA on the Water. Today we have a guest, RealLifeFBA on Instagram. Goes by Tyler. Same thing as usual, me, Lucky Flips, and Nate Flips FBA hosting. We're gonna run through an interview with Tyler, kind of go over how he started Amazon. He has a very unique story, starting with some bulk books and then moving on to OA, and now he's kind of building up his empire here. So we'll kick it off with Tyler here. And Tyler, give us a little bit of a background on how you came into this whole thing from the start, from the bulk book all the way.
Well, thank you for having me, guys. Excited to be here and kind of talk with you guys. It's been a pleasure to get to know both of you outside of this over the past couple of weeks. So, I started with bulk books. Me and a business partner, we were just friends at the time. We started, hitting the thrift stores. In the very beginning, he was selling a little bit of books, and we were kind of looking for a way to make money online. We kind of gotten that online money bug, we're just trying to figure out ways to do it. And he had been doing a little bit of eBay, garage sales, stuff like that. And I said, I'm not really interested in going to yard sales, but I don't mind going to the thrift store to scan books, but I didn't want to go to the yard sales. And so we started doing that, kind of just slowly scaled that up. We started the thrift store game in 2019, kind of middle of 2019. And we were just kind of hitting thrift stores throughout the week. When I was in college at the time, when I have a break during the day from class, I'd go run down, hit a couple of thrift stores, and we kind of got a little route going. And we did that for probably like 2 or 3 months. And then we kind of eventually just kind of kept scaling that up. And we were at a thrift store one day, and the guy checking us out, a buggy full of books, said, hey, there's a lot of books in the back. Y'all should, talk to the manager and see if you can get some of those. We were like, oh, this is like the holy grail, the bulk books. Here they come. And so we called the manager, and they were like, yeah, we've got some books if you want them. And so we made them an offer for the, Gaylord. We rented a Penske truck and went down and picked 4 Gaylords up and unloaded them in my friend's garage. And we processed them all, and, climbing in and out of the Gaylords, all that kind of stuff. And it went really well. We were like, oh, this may be good. So we called them again and said, how many more do you have? And they were like, we've got, 12 more. And we'll probably have 12 more every week for the foreseeable future. So we were like, all right, let's get a warehouse. So we leased a warehouse the next day, and said, we convinced the guy to sign a 6-month lease. And he was like, well, why do you want to sign a 6-month lease? And I said, well, I don't really know if this is going to work. So we got to sign a 6-month lease. And he's like, all right, well, let's do it. He said, nobody else is in here and nobody's interested. So let's rock the 6 months. I said, worst case scenario, we lose 6 months rent. And, kind of the rest is history with the warehouse. But we kind of just scaled up from supplier to supplier, just getting more bulk books. We got up to like our peak operation with bulk books. We were doing probably 2 truckloads a week. So, we were scanning like 80 Gaylords a week, basically. We had, I think, 9 or 10 employees, kind of at our max operation. We had a couple of people that just scanned books full time, a couple of people that listed the books to Amazon, and then me and another guy, we did all the box content, which with FBA books, box content's a pain to do because, like with box content with OA, you're doing, you're just sticking them on the label and then counting how many you throw in the box. Whereas we were doing, like 2,000 book shipments, and there's 1,990 unique SKUs. So you had to scan each one into the box, and it was a pretty time consuming task. But we did that, and our goal was at that point to like send in like between 8 and 10,000 books a week. So we were just ripping anything that was profitable basically, because back then storage limits weren't a thing. So we kind of had the mindset of, if we can make $1 or $2 on the book, by the time we touch it once to, if it's profitable, by the time we touch it once to scan it, doesn't really take that much more just to ship it on into Amazon. And we built our inventory up to around like 65,000 total units in Amazon. So we had quite a bit of books there. And back then, storage limits weren't a thing. The only thing that really affected us back then was, storage fees, but even that wasn't really that much compared to what it is now. And then anything that lasted, got over, like 180 days, 200 days, we would just dispose of. And it was, pennies on the dollar back then to just dispose of something, and we just wash them and move on. Where we really kind of got stumbled up was, late 2020, when storage limits kind of came in. During November, kind of December area, we got hit with storage limits. They cut us from like unlimited to about 30,000. And that's when we had, about 60,000 books there. So they kind of halted our operation to a complete stop. And we unfortunately did not have the space to do like a big merchant fulfilled operation as well. We only had like 3,000 square foot of space. We had kind of two adjoining warehouses. Like one was 1,500 and another one was 1,500. And we processed out of one and stored all of our Gaylords in the other. And we had a couple of trailers on site that we stored stuff in as well. So we didn't really have any space to do merchant fulfilled. So we had to really transition. And what that looked like for us was, unfortunately, letting a lot of people go right around Christmas time. And we kind of paused our business and adjusted and shifted into a kind of a wholesale model where we were wholesaling, basically FBA ready books to other booksellers that had a storage space and were, not at their capacity. And a lot of people in the book game, you either have a supply problem or like you can't find enough books to send in, or you have too many books like we did. And we were just kind of bridging that gap. We had a couple of people that were kind of broker those deals with us, and they knew people that needed books, and we had books, and we just kind of bridged that gap. And we did that for almost a year, which was great. We ended up making about the same amount of money as we would have doing an FBA by the time you factor in all the overhead, because we went down to a very lean crew. We just had one high school kid that would scan during the afternoon, and then we would scan at night. And me and my partner both had gone back to regular jobs. So we were making a full-time income from our regular job for a year, and then making great money on the side with that. And then I got kind of, to the point where I was ready to do something else, whether it was go back and kind of scale the bulk book operation and get another warehouse and do a MF merchant fulfilled thing, or I had some other ideas along that. So I approached my business partner and said, hey, let's, I'm ready to kind of break off on my own here. Tired of not tired of having a business partner, but there's a lot of things that happen with that are unique to each individual partnership. And I was just ready to move on from that. We were both getting married. So we're both kind of at a good phase in life to kind of just separate and move on to different things. And so I approached him to buy him out, and he ended up purchasing me out of our agreement for our partnership. And he's continued to do the book thing. And then, so at the end of In 2021, first part of 2022, was out of a job, I didn't have my book operation anymore. And so I started over and I tried a couple of things, didn't really pan out. And then in March of 2022, I opened a new Amazon account and started pursuing the kind of OA journey that kind of leads us up to where we are now.
Hmm.
Wow. That's like an action-packed intro right there, man. Like
Absolutely.
the like the whole operation, like from the start all the way to the 65,000 books. Like I couldn't even imagine what 65,000 books looks like sitting in a
I,
warehouse. Like,
I can't imagine what it would look like at Amazon's place, how many books they have, just different people and
yeah.
how they do that.
Right. So when you first kind of started, did you have, I mean, you have a lot of books behind you. Were you like trying to get as much business knowledge and whatnot as you go, or was it all just, you just play it out as it lays, basically?
So, we kind of played it out as it went. I come from a very entrepreneurial family, so that's not really new to me. I, in high school and first part of college, before we did the books, I ran a lawn care company. So I've always had kind of that entrepreneurial bug or, mindset. I was always trying to think, how can I maximize, my time and make the most amount of money in that time frame. So when I was 16, I worked for a lawn care company, and I kind of learned the ropes of the lawn care business. I realized very quickly that I could make a lot more if I just bought all the equipment and started cutting grass a couple of days a
Yeah.
week and not getting paid $10 an hour to cut grass,
Right.
50 hours a week. So I made that transition and connection pretty quickly. And, I just kind of kept following that kind of progression of mindset. And, I was a pretty avid reader of, like the business books and always found that fascinating. Always been into, investing and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I mean, I kind of knew a little bit about stuff, but a lot of it was just you kind of learn as you go and trial by fire.
Yeah.
And then, but I've learned that the opinion of it, make decisions fast and learn from your mistakes and keep it rolling. And you can't overanalyze everything because you're not always going to be right. You got to keep the kind of keep it going and just adapt and change as you go.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. That's like the biggest part. If you sat down with every single business book in the world and said, I'm gonna start a business once I know everything, and you read all of them, like you're gonna be 6 feet under and have accomplished nothing just by having that mindset. So you adapted that real quick at being like 16, cutting grass for $10 an hour, and then realizing that you can kind of do this on your own and make much more money than $10 an hour. So that's a huge benefit that you had to switch that mindset that young, and then that led you to your book operation, now to your online arbitrage operation. Quick question about, so I know you said 80 Gaylords a week you were getting. So there's like what, 1,000 to 1,200 books in a Gaylord, or am I completely off by that?
Yeah, that's about right. It's depending, they come in different sizes, but generally you get about 700 to 1,000 books a Gaylord.
Holy smokes. So when you'd scan like all the like non-profitable books or books that like you wouldn't want to send into Amazon, what would you do with those? And what was your like criteria to send them in, like sales rank wise, profit per unit, ROI?
Yeah, so profit per unit, we were looking, we kind of changed it over time. It's just like same thing in OA. You kind of change and adjust your criteria. It seemed like with OA, the bigger you scale, you have to kind of lower those ROI criteria sometimes.
Yeah,
Same thing with books, you lower that criteria. And with bulk, your cost is really the same
for
as
both,
you pay
right?
for the truckload. You don't pay per item.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I think we were at our kind of lowest range criteria. If we could make $1 on something, we would send it in, especially if it was a lower sales rank. Our our max sales rank criteria was like 1.5 million. So anything under that, we would send in, and then kind of like between 1.5 million to 2 million. Had to be like, at least a five or six, $10 profit, something around there. And then with what we did with all the ones that we did not accept, you send those to like a recycling place, and you had to, ship those in a truck over to a recycler, and they'll pay you, 2 or 3 cents a pound for to recycle them.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's definitely still a like sustainable business model, because you're not keeping them, you're getting rid of them, you're moving
Yeah.
more in. It's like it's all a volume game with the books, especially when there's no storage limits back in 2018, 2019.
Right. Yeah. When there's no storage limits, that's all you really were doing. Is just the game was to how big you can build your inventory,
Yeah.
and and just kind of rely on that to work out. And for the most part, it does at scale. But now with inventory limits, with if you were to start a new account and to start bulk books, you got a 3,000 unit limit. I mean, that's hardly nothing in
Yeah.
the bulk book game. So that's you're going to be really handcuffed starting out now. Um, and that's why I think a lot of people have transitioned to merchant fulfill, and there's just a whole lot of more problems that come along with that. You got to have a lot of space and a lot of people to pick and pack and all that kind of stuff as well.
I
Yeah.
gotta go ahead, Nate. Sorry.
I was gonna ask, like, so now to bring it forward, I know you said you had like a 6 month period of where you didn't have a job or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, what what um what brought you to stick with Amazon and to then pursue OA?
Honestly, it was just kind of something that I was familiar with, and I kind of started following some of the guys on Instagram, and I was like, well, I'm not really, you know, doing anything right now. I tried some trading and stuff like that at the beginning of the year, and I kind of picked the worst possible year to become a stock trader in 2022. So that didn't work out as quite like I had envisioned. But so I kind of started consuming some content, and I have a non-compete with books, so I couldn't do books again. But I could utilize the knowledge that I had gained from Amazon, and I just kind of looked at what was the uh, next kind of starting point from books, and OA kind of seemed like the kind of natural progression there. And
Yeah,
that's kind of where
definitely a natural, like you hear a lot of stories about people starting Amazon in maybe even pre 2020. They were just doing bulk books, even up to like 2021.
Mhm.
I know we've listened to and absorbed content from a lot of guys that started with books, transitioned to OA, and now they're either still doing OA to a higher scale, or they're taking on the endeavor of the wholesale avenue of Amazon. And it kind of, yeah, it is just like that natural progression, like you said. What were your sales numbers per, like, I mean, per month, with when you guys were doing the bulk book operation? You had like the 65,000 books in Amazon. I'm just trying to imagine what your daily sales, monthly sales look like.
So with books, you have two big seasons. Q4 is you kind of get a Q4 effect, but it's really what's called textbook season. And it's
Mm.
like when people start going back to school, which is in February, kind of late January, early February, and then in August. So we hit our first 100,000 a month. We kind of started the bulk phase of the like where we really were actually doing stuff. When we started, we were doing like 3,000 a month in the first part of 20 at like late 2019. Then by summer of 2020, we were hitting like 100,000 a month. And then kind of at the when we were selling through when we got our inventory limits cut in textbook season of 2021, we hit our peak month was 225,000.
Holy smokes. Yeah. I mean, that's just goes to show what you can do with this. Even
Oh
just
yeah, I
doing.
mean, that's the crazy thing is if you look at like on Keepa, it'll show like the kind of the bigger sellers. A lot of them are bulk media sellers. So either books or CDs and stuff like that. So there's still a lot of opportunity out there in the book game and even in the media game.
Yeah, super cool. Super. So
Yeah. And it definitely
transit.
shows, my bad. It definitely just like paints the picture to hopefully the whole audience that you didn't walk away from Amazon to go do whatever, open a restaurant, like whatever. You still realize the opportunity with Amazon is still alive. It's still, bigger, and it's only, getting bigger because more and more people are shopping on Amazon every year. So you decide to, switch gears, get into OA, and, keep pushing forward. Like, so it definitely shows that, Amazon is a valid business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I always knew there was tons of opportunity. Honestly, during when we were doing the book thing, I didn't even know A was like I didn't even know people were doing that. Like I kind of would just I knew about wholesale and I knew about books because before we right before we got kind of tapped into the bulk book game, we had bought Watch Me Amazon's wholesale course, and we had bought all of our tickets and everything to go to ASD in 2020, and then it got canceled um,
Oh,
for COVID, and then we kind of got entangled in the book game and never went back to wholesale. So that was the track that we were headed on was trying to investigate wholesale in late 2019, early 2020. And I don't know what would have happened if we would have stuck that out, but
Mm.
it's kind of
yeah.
it's kind of like the people that say like, oh, I knew about Bitcoin back in forever ago, and I didn't do anything with it. It's like, well, I knew about wholesale 4 or 5 years ago now, or 4 years ago now, but I just didn't ever do anything with it.
Right.
All the course, watched it all, had a list of suppliers, and then got sidetracked on something else.
Yeah, I mean, everything definitely happens for a reason. Like, obviously, some things are out of your control in 2020, like with ASD getting canceled, and who knows where you'd be at now. But transitioning to the OA side of things, like what does your OA business looking like now, and getting started with it, like making that transition to OA from bulk books? Did you start with RA, or did you just kind of dive right into the online arbitrage game?
So I started with a little bit of RA, just because when you're starting, you don't really know what to do. So what I was doing is just like watching people on YouTube, and they were all going to Walmarts and stuff and scanning stuff. So well, I was like, I got a lot of time on my hands. I can go do that. So I would go to Walmart and scan the clearance and try that, and then I would try to find some stuff on online, and I just didn't really know where to look. And in the beginning, I didn't really know what it actually was selling and stuff like that. So I was really starting from I knew like how to operate Seller Central, but I did not really know anything about related to OA and that kind of like we used Keepa back in the books, but honestly, we didn't really there was not that big a concern to us. We just cared about sales rank, and that was really it. We didn't really worry about the Keepa because we were playing a volume game and just didn't really matter. But I started like trying to learn Keepa, doing that. Actually, everybody hates on leads list, but Logan Altenberger, I had a call with him. He posted something on social media, and at the time I was doing like three thousand a month. I did 3,000 a month for like 3 months in a row, and I just could not figure out how to spend enough money to do any more. And he suggested, he said, you know, if you ever thought about joining a leads list, and I was like, well, no, because everybody, says, oh, leads lists are terrible. He said, well, in a grand scheme, in the blanket statement, that's true. But with a leads list, when you get started, you find, all right, well, these sites are where people are sourcing from, And these are the type of products people are sourcing and finding. Where in the beginning, I didn't really know, like I was just having a hard time finding anything. And you really, I think you just have to kind of break over that initial hurdle until you start seeing some opportunity. And I was using like two leads lists to just kind of bring opportunity to me because I didn't really have a network of people either at that time. So I was kind of using those leads lists to like bring, you know, all right, well, this is selling, and I can find, maybe not this exact lead that's on the leads list, but maybe this brand that's also has a coupon or sale on this particular website. I can find something else on there and make it work that way. So I kind of used that to kind of get going. One of the biggest hurdles I had was trying to actually spend the amount of money that's required to do OA, because at our like even at our like peak operation, we were spending 15 to 20,000 a month on books.
Yeah.
So the thought process of having to spend $10,000 on OA stuff, really was just kind of just a mental block for me. And that was and looking back on it now, there's no way I could have got over $3,000 in sales because I wasn't spending but $1,500
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah.
So like, there's really no feasible way I could have ever got over that hurdle until I, started actually spending more money. And that comes with time, and you got to get a little bit more confidence under your belt before you're comfortable dropping that, those bigger dollar amounts. And like at the beginning, you just don't have enough opportunity to spend a lot of money.
Yeah. Like a lot of what you just said there, I personally agree with. Like when it comes to especially the leads list, like we talk sometimes about like maybe the way people are using leads lists aren't correct, and what you hit on with like introducing you to more opportunity is
Mhm.
a crucial point of leads lists. Like if you use them for what they are and you just look at the leads that are posted, buy them, and you get pissed off when the listing tanks because there's 20, 30 other people on the leads list. Like, yes, that in that sense, leads lists are maybe a bad experience for some people, but it's about the exposure to opportunity and reverse sourcing the leads, like looking at other seller stores who are um, on that listing, and like because they obviously they got a upper edge maybe and found it a couple weeks before you did and sent the items in and they're making money on it. So, and like looking through the store that the lead was posted to, like the product site, and maybe there's more opportunity there to utilize a coupon or do something. So it's all in the different layers that you like want to get into and the work that you have to put in. That's not just clicking the lead and buying. Like you need to do the extra work and reverse source the other sellers and manually source the website, and then that can expose you to a whole bunch of opportunity that's going to be beneficial for your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly that's how I started using them. And that's really kind of what got me kind of over that kind of initial hurdle of, that those kind of couple of months of like just 3,000, 3,000, 3,000, and then it just kind of compounds from there.
Yeah. So if you use those leads list as like a reference material, like you're paying, say it's $150 a month, but you're gonna get 150 leads out of it over the course of a month. Those are 150 opportunities to dive a little deeper. Don't just take it surface level, take it the next level down, whether it's the website, reverse sourcing from those leads, and just optimize the outcome that's like available, not just the surface.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. To go on the point of like spending money to make money too, like that's such a mental barrier for so many newer OA sellers. It's like they want the 5 to 10K profit months. They want to like quit their 9 to 5 and pursue this full time, but they're spending 7 to 10 grand a month. It's like you're only spending 7 to 10 grand or something like that because you don't want to see the big credit card statement and your American Express. Like you're nervous to see that 20, 30, 40, 50,000. Like
Yeah.
you need to break through and allow yourself to spend more money. And that does come with confidence and time. Like some people, everyone's timeline's different. So sometimes it might take someone an extra few months to get comfortable spending 30 to 40 grand. And other people, they'll make that switch. The switch in their head will flip over a little quicker, and then they can have that opportunity to make some more profits.
Yeah. I think part of the problem too might be is that there's so much advertisement that you can do Amazon with $0, but guys, it's not true. Like you need some money. You can't just rack up a credit card bill and expect that money to hit you, to come back and to make you money within that first statement. Like it's a process. Like you need to have reserve capital, so that first month as you're sending stuff in, if it takes if that shipment goes in and goes right into FC transfer, you might have another week until you start getting sales. Not always the case, but that can happen. So,
Yeah.
it does take money to start making money. It's a business. It's not a lemonade stand. It's legit. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. People say it's like, especially when you're like a newer seller starting and you send your first FBA shipment, like don't expect that money back for 5 to 6 weeks. So have a plan in place of having that reserve capital to kind of keep you afloat while you're waiting for those disbursements to come back to your bank account. That's going to allow you to pay off those credit card statements and take some money back to the house to reinvest in profitable inventory, or if you need it to survive, then you can pay yourself in your personal checking account or whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I got a question. So, what do you think? What's like your next 6 months look like?
So next 6 months, so that'll be April, that'll be just into October.
Yeah.
First month of Q4. So kind of the current trajectory we're on, we did 68,000 in sales in March. We spent 50 grand. Our goal is to spend 60,000 this month and kind of just keep upping that a little bit more each month as we progress through the year. I currently have two VAs. I have one that's a full-time sourcing VA and one kind of half and half sourcing and admin. I really recommend anybody that because anybody that has a lot of, once you get over a certain scale, you got to get an admin VA to alleviate some of the just the administrative work, because that's really not a very high value task. And honestly, once I got that off my plate and was just quit worrying about that, I was able to spend more time with myself sourcing, because especially in this phase of business that I'm in, I'm still probably the best sourcer that, and I can bring the most to the table if I'm sourcing, because between my network or, just from the knowledge I've gained over the last, 7, 8, 9 months. And then I can also transfer that information over to my VA. But if I'm not actively sourcing, we're relying on just VA's leads. And sometimes that's okay, and then sometimes that's not okay. And I have to kind of bridge the gap there. But our goal is, we're currently working to build in more admin tasks, and we're trying to continue to hand off tasks to my admin VA, and then training my sourcing VA to be kind of a reviewer. We're working every day reviewing leads. I'm trying to transfer as much of my thought process of why I think leads are good and bad to him. And then we're going to hire probably 2 to 3 more sourcing VAs, and it hopes to be kind of ramped up and ready for that, August, September, going into Q4, and kind of be at our kind of best operation going in to prepare for Q4. Because that's really what I've seen. I mean, you can make money all year, but if you can optimize for Q4, that's the best time to really stack as much up as you can.
That's the life-changing money right there. It's like sustainable money, Q1 through 3, and then something to really launch you over the
Yeah,
curve in
exactly.
Q4. So what kind of tasks do you have your admin VA? I know a lot of people, especially beginners, are familiar with like what sourcing VAs do because
Mhm.
people are sourcing every day, but what kind of tasks do you have your administrative VAs running for you?
So right now, we started off with just the simple task like categorizing all of our order confirmations, order cancels, and updating a like our lead sheet based on that. We rebuilt our lead sheet to where now she can track every order all the way through from when we place it to the prep center. And then now we're working through the process of tracking all the order confirmations through placing the order to the prep center and then making sure everything from the prep center gets shipped to Amazon. And she's really helping me monitor kind of the leakage that happens in that, between, following up with vendors that don't ship all the correct items. They may short you one or two. Excuse me. She's following up with that and trying to work through that. And we built kind of a spreadsheet that we can kind of both collaborate on and monitor all that. Uh, that was like because that was kind of a big waste, not a waste of time, but like a big time drag on me is was monitoring all that and keeping all that updated and updating the prep center sheets
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. So she handles all that now. That's when you're buying a lot, that's 2 or 3 hours a day that I don't have to worry about that anymore. That she can do that. And currently, we're working on trying to train her to be able to manage our repricer. Um, and as far as monitoring listings that we have stock on, adjusting mins and maxes, because with the current environment that we're in, things can go south really quickly on a lot of listings. And unless you want to hold out and see if they recover, if you're just repricing once a week, the landscape can change a lot in a week. And
Right.
I'm really just utilizing her right now to monitor, kind of click through all of our stock every day, and did something we have 30 or 40 units on appear to be thrown on a leads list, and that offer count starting to spike. And we need to be a little bit more aggressive on our repricer and that on like that lead, and really trying to maximize as much margin as we can and not get caught out on anything that we have a decent amount of stock on. And then also, we've since we've started doing that on a more consistent basis, um, we've been able to raise our mins on some stuff and do a little more dynamic repricing. And I'm trying to train her to analyze the kind of current offers. Is there just one FBA offer that's at 42 and then the rest, everybody else is at 46? If you just blanket, your repricer, you may look at, okay, the min's 42, max is 50, it's going to hit 42. But, dynamic repricing in my mindset, we can raise that min price up to 46 and pick up another $4 of sales value. And all that's just
And
very time consuming to analyze all that. And,
Yeah.
that's what we're working on, trying to train her to be able to handle all that. And especially, I think there's tons of opportunity for that going into Q4. If we can really master that, um, because I know I messed that up a ton in Q4. Has missed a ton of. There's so much opportunity. You're not capitalizing on all the opportunity that you have. And if we can utilize her going into Q4 when things really get really hot, and she's already mastered that kind of dynamic repricing of a lot of stuff, we'll be able to really capitalize on a lot of those opportunities as far as raising our price as the demand picks up.
Right, right. Yeah, and I've noticed like last Q4, Zach and I would be talking, and some of the listings we'd both be selling on, and like I would have my price, and Zach would be like $5 higher, like
Mhm.
decent amount, and I'm I might have the buy box, but he's still telling me like, dude, like I still sold five of these a day, like today
Right.
at $5 higher. I'm like, wow, I just
Yeah.
lost $25 for that stupid mistake. And
That was that went both ways too. There was opportunities where I was maybe a few bucks higher than you, or there was other ones where you were a few bucks higher than me, and we'd be like, dude, how is this even like we would have the buy box at the lower price, but people priced higher. I mean it's dependent upon where in the like like in the United States where your product's located, like how to get it to the customer faster or whatever. But there still is opportunity at higher prices, especially in Q4 when the volumes are so high.
hmm
Yeah, because I mean, you want to take any chance to raise your price, that you can. And I mean, so many people I think are just in the mindset of, oh, I have to get lower prices to, receive sales. But that's not necessarily the case. And, if you can, sometimes if you can analyze the offer count and kind of see based on reviews that they have, kind of guesstimate what kind of stock levels they have and how much it's selling a month, you're like, well, I can wait out those 3 or 4. Or if, you see some person on there with 2 sellers with, 300 or 400 a piece and they have, you know, 20, 30,000 reviews, chances are they're not going out of stock anytime soon. So we may need to adjust and take a break even or a
hmm
small loss on that product and get the money back and turn it over. So that's kind of where we've been meeting every morning for about an hour, just going through that. And it's going to be a long process, but I think it'll pay, dividends in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, any opportunity that you can have repricing wise that you can really implement in Q4 is going to be huge. And if it's off your plate too, and you have
Yeah.
a VA that you pay to do it, and like you said, it's like $2 to $3 a day. Like it's a coffee from Dunkin'. It's
Yeah.
actually less than a coffee from Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or whatever. So you're paying for that time, and that's probably especially Q4 if you're running up the numbers that you want, spending 80 to $100,000 a month in Q4, like that's going to be a lot of time repricing,
Yeah.
trying to find those opportunities. Even if you have a reprice, like you still have to go through it, and it could take you longer than an hour a day. So that's a task you're paying out to get your time back, which is much more valuable than the repricing. You can be sitting there sourcing, finding products, or just enjoying the holidays with your family.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like, two thought processes of like where, you can use your VAs to get all your time back and just relax and do nothing, or you can utilize VAs to have you focus on the like highest value task. And that can really move the needle because there's so much stuff that we can get caught up in on the day to day that just doesn't move the needle in your business, that just take up a ton of time. And you at the end of the day, you're like, well, what did I actually do to grow the business and not just kind of maintain it? We need to, figure out what task am I doing on a day to day that are just maintaining the business. Those are great tasks to outsource.
hmm
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of those are going to be the same for some people, but a lot of them is going to be different. If someone's
Mhm.
running a primarily FBM operation, then out of their basement, then maybe hiring someone to come pack up FBM shipments for you, or anything really that's like you said, not moving the needle. That's a great way to put it. That 1% a day, you're not
Yeah,
adding to it.
exactly.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Um, yeah.
So with that being said, with the next 6 months here, let's go over some like end of the year. Actually, scratch that. This is kind of a little break here, but we met Tyler in Vegas at ASD. So let's
Yeah.
go over some of the events that occurred at ASD. Nate and I briefly spoke upon it last episode here, but I feel like it's huge for sellers to see multiple different perspectives from people that go to ASD because it's such a preached upon event. Like everyone's like vendor trade shows, like you got to go, you like do as much as you can before, get your sales pitch ready to talk to these suppliers and figure out all the stuff that has to do with ASD. And I feel like people who are trying to get into wholesale, they're like looking at that as like a huge overarching target to kind of reach. But we all met up. There was a few other sellers. Kind of just give your insight to ASD and how you thought it went overall for you and your business.
I think it's hard to quantify the direct like ROI that you get from ASD from the first trip. I think ASD is a more it kind of compounds over trips that you go. It's next when you go in August, it's oh hey we spoke back in February and we did some stuff. Whether you did deals or not, or I like these items that you have. Can we? You kind of already have that account open, got a little bit of track record. It shows that you've been in the business for at least 6 months. Because I think so many times a lot of these guys that, especially these trade shows, the vendors, they don't know us from anybody else. And
Right.
what's stopping them from just saying, hey, I've got a guy over here that's buying 100,000 a month from me. If you're just going to buy 5 or 6,000, it's not really worth my time to talk to you. And that's I think that's just part of the wholesale game. But overall, pretty good experience. I haven't done any deals directly from anybody that I met there. So all these people that you see on Twitter that say, "Oh, I'm spending 100,000 from people I met on ASD." So if you didn't do that, don't feel left out because I have neither. That's part of by like my Instagram handle is RealLifeFBA. I'm not going to paint this big great picture of what FBA is. It's a lot of work and a lot of things that you don't really see on Instagram and Twitter. So if you went to ASD and you kind of struck out or didn't really feel like it's like, that's not quite what everybody else is saying. Did I miss something? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. But a lot of the people I've talked to that that I know are at about the same level I am kind of had the same similar experience. Some of them have done a few deals, but not a ton. A lot more closeouts type opportunities than I thought there was going to be. I thought there'd be more distributors, but there really was not as many distributors as I had envisioned. There's like 90% of the people there you don't have to talk to at all. It's just a bunch of random stuff that I don't really think it's really that applicable, at least to me. It may be to somebody else, but for what I envisioned my business looking like, wasn't really applicable. I did do the contact before, but everybody says like, oh, you reach out, contact before. A lot of those companies either don't have websites, so it's hard to find information for them, or two, like on the vendor list, it's under their LLC or something like that. And then the actual company that's there is the company, which is not the same as the LLC name. So you thought there was a bunch in this one section of area of the map of the floor. You're like, oh, there's nobody there. And then you get there and it's like, oh, this is completely different than what was on the map.
Yeah.
So you really, the best, if I go back in August, my plan is to try to do as much outreach before and then just walk the floor in the different halls that you're interested in and just take your time, talk to everybody that you can. And, you'll build rapport with different people in different ways. Some people don't want to talk to you at all. Some people talk to you for an hour. And what's interesting is you will get different feedback from different people. Like if I walk up to a guy and we build rapport, you may get some information that Nate goes up to that guy, and if he doesn't build that same rapport off the bat, he may get a completely different vibe and a completely different feel for that whole scenario. So it's very, information dependent. For example, there's one brand that I went up to. I felt like I had a pretty good conversation on I think it was Monday, and then I was walking the floor with a friend of mine on Tuesday. He went up to the same brand, same rep, had the same conversation. They said, we don't sell Amazon sellers. So, it's kind of a combination of just because they don't sell to Amazon sellers doesn't mean they actually don't. That's just a blanket statement of, hey, we will sell to anybody that really has money. You just got to bring a good pitch and a good value to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a combination. I don't know. I've mixed reviews from ASD. It wasn't like a home run. Oh, you got to go. I think you'd be perfectly fine if you never went.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I think you could fully run a wholesale business and never go to ASD and you'd be fine. So don't feel like if you can't go or you haven't gone, you're missing this holy grail opportunity. I don't think it's that. It may now at least.
yeah, that's kind of like same way Nate and I talked about it last week. It was more good experience to like be putting yourself out there, like representing
Yeah.
your business for the first time and kind of like breaking through the ice, like breaking the ice there. It's because most of us, especially the online arbitrage folks, like we just click buy and add to cart on online, and we're not really like out there representing our businesses, like in person, talking to people, meeting with people, and kind of like getting through that first trade show and doing that for a few days. It'll set you up for the next trade show. I think it'll kind of like get your feet wet, and whether it's ASD or one of these other ones, Expo West or Expo East, I know it's kind of good just to like shake off the rust or whatever you want to call it. Do that for the first time. But we also talked about like meeting up with you, Zach Sedano, Raj, Viper.
Yeah. I think I got more value out of the conversations we all had than anything I took away from the show.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I got the return on my trip was the conversations we had and built and furthering those relationships. But that's what I enjoyed most about the trip, honestly.
yeah, same here. I mean, it just makes you when you talk to these like your network of Amazon sellers every day on Discord or Instagram, whatever platform you're using to talk to your friends that you're making here in Amazon FBA and meeting up with them in person. Like it's such a cool experience to be like, I met you online and now we're sitting here having a beer at a casino or whatever. And like just talking to Amazon FBA and learning about each other in a more like personal way than it's not just typing on a keyboard. So
Yeah, I found so much value out of that too. I mean, it really like personalizes the network that we've been building for months now and that we'll keep building. And I mean, like you just never know the person on the other side of the screen until like you really meet them in person, and then you get to like see like what type of person they are, what do they like, just that eye contact, like because we're humans, we like to be, you know,
yeah,
just connected with other people, and yeah, that was definitely like the top thing about ASD for me is just to getting to meet you, Tyler, and like Zach said, all the other people that we've been talking to for months now.
yeah, definitely a cool experience. And if you have a network and you want to start putting yourself out there and gain some more confidence in your sales pitch, like there's no better opportunity than going to ASD to kind of work on that and get yourself ready. Because I mean, like we talk about, we're in this Amazon FBA. Tyler too, obviously, he's going on almost 5 years now, right, of being involved in the Amazon community, and like we're in this for the long haul. So you got to get those reps in of representing your business. There's no better opportunity than going to ASD because you can practice your pitch 100 different times to 100 different people and gain more confidence in yourself.
And two, if you're practicing your pitch at ASD, if you mess up the first day, just come back 2 days later to the same guy. He won't remember who you were.
Yeah, he won't even recognize you.
Yeah, he's talked to so many people and heard so many things. They don't unless you're just terrible. He's not going to remember who you were. So just come back and try again. Don't worry about it. Check it off. Try again.
That's a great point.
Yeah. 100%.
Thanks for checking out another episode of FBA on the Water.
I'm good to wrap this
Make
up.
sure you follow us on our YouTube channel at FBA on the Water and follow us on Instagram at
Tyler, it was
Nate
great.
Flips
Tyler, it was
FBA
great to have you.
and at Lucky
You
Flips.
mentioned your-
See you next time.
You'd mentioned your Instagram, Real Life FBA.
That's
So,
right. That's me.
folks, follow Tyler and give us a like and subscribe. And we'll see you next week on FBA on the Water.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you,
For
Tyler.
sure. Thanks, Tyler.